Hey guys, welcome back to Road Gang Radio. 13 fleets, all of them taking part in North America Council for Freight Efficiency, NACFE. Their Run on Less, Messy Middle, a real-world demonstration to bring clarity to long-haul trucking. I'm going to give you a quote. The Messy Middle is a time when fleets can choose from a variety of powertrain solutions and other efficiency-enhancing technology. Those are the words of Mike Roeth, NACFE's Executive Director, who joins us this morning. It's good to have you back after a wonderful Labor Day weekend.
Have you seen the rain, Mike?
Oh, come on, man.
Yeah, I know what rain is. I grew up a farm boy in Ohio, so we looked for it. Yeah, I know what it
is. You guys pray for it. We dread it down here to some degree, I have to tell you. Mike, we get a chance today to talk about Penske, right? This is the 13th apostle. Here we are, correct? This is the end of the road?
Yeah, that's right. So we've now introduced all 13 fleets with the trucks there. They're, I always say they're working to get the best out of these trucks. Some of them are, older school kind of things. We had Henry Albert in, running a 2022 Freightliner that's usually over 10 miles per gallon, whether he's heavy or light. And now here with the 13th, we've got Penske, and they're running a hydrogen fuel cell truck. And it's like, oh my gosh, what the heck is a hydrogen fuel cell truck, and how do you make that work? But one of the things I'm proud of with Run on Less is this is real trucks, real drivers, real freight, real routes. We're not making any of this up, guys. We don't put, concrete in the trailer and go, act like we're hauling freight. This is real stuff. So they're out of Dallas, Texas area. It's Penske Logistics is basically the fleet, which is under the big old Penske brand. And they're hauling auto parts around Dallas and out into the country a bit for dealers that are Hyundai Automotive Group. And they're doing that because the end user customer is Hyundai parts, service parts, but they're using a Hyundai tractor, actually with a Hyundai trailer. So little inside Run on Less trivia: which fleet is running a truck with a tractor and a trailer built by the same company? We've hardly ever seen that, but Hyundai is leaning in on tractors now after being a trailer manufacturer for a lot of years here in North America.
So it's and like I said, this is really cool because this is a great example of the partnership, not just your partnership with Penske, but Penske's partnership with Hyundai. There's a lot of moving pieces to this. And can we kind of talk? Let's go straight to the drivers first. We'll begin with them this time. What has their response been to running on the hydrogen fuel cell?
Well, first of all, at its heart, it's an electric truck, so it drives. There's a hydrogen. There's a fuel cell that uses hydrogen as fuel, and this has no moving parts. So there's and it's a little past my education and engineering, guys, but it takes the hydrogen and turns it in through a chemical process into electricity. Ultimately, that's going to power the truck. So the truck actually drives a bit like a battery electric truck. There's no sound. There's very little vibration. All the things that drivers like about an electric truck, they tend to like about a hydrogen truck. This is our second of two hydrogen fuel cell trucks, and both drivers kind of raved about their drivability. Now, right after that comes though, but it is a cab over. So this is Hyundai is headquartered in Korea, a truck company really all around the world, and so it is a cab over. So it's got a long wheelbase because of all the tanks they have to package in, much like a natural gas truck. They have to package these carbon fiber tanks behind the cab and so forth. So it's long wheelbase, and it's a cab over. So, but the driver in this video that we published this morning, he talks a lot about how it's easier in tight spaces. And so my team was like, well, wait a minute, how can that be? You got long wheelbase, you got, it's a big truck. But what we tend to forget about cab overs is how the visibility is so strong. So he talks in there about seeing well in tight spots. And so I don't know, a big truck's a big truck in a tiny spot, much like a big old guy sleeping in a twin bed. But the visibility that they see, and probably the quiet and smooth operation, makes it feel like it's a more maneuverable truck. So I found that really interesting when I interviewed him and when I rewatched the video that we produced.
Yeah, I think you made a really good point too. I think being a cab over, the fact that you're on top of the situation, the fact that you're right there, it's up close and personal. I don't know what it is, but I feel like the closer you are actually to the road from where you sit, you feel like you have more control. It's more of a feeling, I think, sometimes
Yeah.
than it is a reality. But here's the thing: is seeming can often make it so, and and that injection of both hydrogen and confidence seemed to kind of made a difference here. Let's talk about the idea. One of the things you guys always focus on is refueling, is fueling in general, what the fueling process is like, how much time it saves, how much time it expends. What were kind of the results of looking at that?
Yeah, so Penske, they had three executives or three leaders being interviewed, and Scott Brower has been at Penske for 38 years, and he said this project was one of the most rewarding, but also the most challenging. So hydrogen's not simple. There's no significant fueling infrastructure in place. So right now there is a trailer that we show in the video quite a bit that has hydrogen, and they put that on site at the Hyundai Mobis distribution center for operating this truck over the next number of months. And so that's not easy. You got to bring this truck in. It can only fuel about 8 trucks or 8 fueling sessions. And then they have to take the trailer to another place and get hydrogen for it. It's a big battery pack on this trailer because, there's places and times where they need to fuel the truck without electricity at the site. So they've got a battery pack they got to charge. They got to fill it back up with hydrogen, and then they take it back to the site to fill the trucks. And so this is a challenging endeavor to create another infrastructure and distribution and actually hydrogen production system. So, we talk about how hard it's going to be for electric trucks. And then we're also talking about infrastructure changes, albeit much simpler with biodiesel and renewable diesel. Now we've got another one that's really maybe the most difficult, and that is figuring out how do we get fairly green, low carbon intensity hydrogen to the trucks to fuel them. And in this video we talk a bit about that, but you can see the fueling operation, and it's it's very early stages. I mean, this is a kind of a first date, if you will, between trucking and fuel cells. Now, having said that, the trucks are working extremely well. Hyundai's got 21 in Savannah, Georgia. They've got this one in Dallas, and then they've got, I think, 35 in California, mostly up in the Bay Area, but 5 of them down in Southern California, which is the pilot truck that we're also showcasing in the run. So, it's early for hydrogen. We'll see what happens over the next, really, guys, probably decade before we know if it's going to be a key player in North America.
Yeah, and by the way, Scott Brower makes that comment. And this is the question I wanted to ask you: is this a matter of time, or also a matter of figuring it out? Let me distinguish what I mean there. That we know what has to be, and therefore it's just going to take that long, or are we still in the process of figuring out what the most effective, efficient way of doing it is?
Yeah, that's a great question. You guys know me. I'm a storyteller and a bit of I like analogies, but I also like quotes. So I think it was Rumsfeld that said about terrorism. He said, "We have known knowns, we have known unknowns," and those are things that I think you're pointing at, and that is, like for electric trucks, how are we going to charge them, and so forth. And then we've got unknown unknowns, and that was said famously by Secretary of Defense, I think Rumsfeld,
Yes.
around. We just don't know where these bad guys are, and we don't know what their weapons are, and we don't know exactly how they're going to execute. So I think that's still the case with hydrogen. There's still like these unknown unknowns. Like, do we need to make it liquefied on the truck to get the long range that's needed for the expectations and the promise of hydrogen, or how can we fuel these? Can we do it behind? Can we produce hydrogen near its use? Because that's transporting hydrogen is not easy or cheap. So there's just so many. I think we're figuring out the unknowns and making them known, but we just still don't know what the answer is. I think too, because of that, it's sort of like a horse race, if you will, where biodiesel, renewable diesel, and just good efficiency of diesel is kind of out in the front at halfway along the race, and battery electrics at their heels, and then hydrogen's this maybe fast horse that's kind of out in the back, kind of catching up and seeing. So, but I would say, from my chair and from NACFE's, we don't know if it'll be a niche kind of market with just a few thousand trucks a year or bigger. Hyundai stepped out. You've got Nikola and some others that have tried this, and the assets of Nikola has been bought by somebody that might make another run at hydrogen trucks. So I guess we'll see. But I do thank Penske quite a lot, and the whole industry should, for leaning in, trying this truck out. They're not saying we're going to run hydrogen, at big numbers. They're just saying we need to understand what it can do, what it can't do, and get on with it. So that's why they chose to join Run on Less and do it this fall.
I really do love the idea of the Rumsfeld axiom, the known knowns, the known unknowns, and then finally the unknown unknowns, because this, as you have just pointed out with Penske and with Pilot to a large degree, this is really kind of taking a leap into the dark. But it's one of those things where it's kind of like heading out into the frontier, really into terra incognita, that we don't know where this is going, but somebody's got to get the thing rolling, and they seem to have the wherewithal and the willingness to kind of take the jump on this. And by the way, thank you for clarifying that, because there are things in regards to like EVs where, we don't know everything, but we know what we don't know, and we know what we have to do to kind of try to make it work. This is one of those things where there is a lot of uncertainty around it, but it has so many things that are attractive about it. I think that's the axiom, that we don't know a lot in regards to where we're headed with it, but there's enough attractiveness to this method of kind of fueling up and running that makes it worth kind of exploring and making it's the biggest discovery process of all the 13 approaches, I think, along with Pilot, correct?
You're exactly right. Now, some would say battery electric trucks are in the same situation, but we don't believe that. Battery is very simple. You basically plug the truck into the wall. You get a bunch of juice into it. We're going to see with Tesla and Windrow's incredibly fast charging, and you unplug it and you go. So you're not putting hydrogen on the truck that you then need to turn into electricity on the truck to drive the wheels. And so that's why we've done at NACFE so much work on battery electric, because its simplicity, we think, will help it win. And, one thing about trucking is we can't have unknowns. We've got to move the freight. We've got to be uptime, and reliability is actually key. None of this matters. None of the driver benefits and all that, none of that matters if the truck's not working. So, the truck must be up and reliable and doing its job, and then we can kind of compare and contrast. So that's really key at the end of the day.
Yeah, and the other thing is, too, is the fact that and by the way, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems that the known on hydrogen cells is that when they are properly fueled, they run beautifully. The question is a matter of how we're going to do it. The question isn't, do these things work? That's been resolved. I mean, we're talking about make that really clear. Go ahead.
Kind of, but there's still some big questions. I mean, you can have. So it's a hybrid at its core. So you've got a hydrogen fuel cell creating power, and you got the batteries delivering it to the wheels. So, there are fuel cell dominant hydrogen fuel cell trucks, and there's battery dominant. So how big is the battery? How big is the fuel cell? How do they really work together to move the freight? It depends on whether you're going over mountains or on the flat. And so there's still, and I already brought up liquid or compressed hydrogen on the truck. So there still are things that we don't know yet completely. We don't know and cost of the hydrogen. So there's still things that are in question, even on the truck side, not just on the fueling side. But, it's events like these where we'll figure those things out and see some hope or not. That's, just because a bunch of experts think it's a solution doesn't mean at the end of the day it's going to win. So
it's why we're doing it. We're figuring it out.
That's exactly right. Now, hey, the data starts streaming a week from yesterday, so we're gearing up this week. Putting dotting the I's, crossing the T's on 13 different dashboards. So we'll be showing data from these trucks, where they are, where they fueled, where they charged, how far they went, where their deliveries are, and it's going to be a really exciting thing. because of all we're talking about on the fuel cell trucks, these two trucks won't go long distance, but they'll do as many miles as they can, in a sort of a regional haul sort of application before they ultimately prove their worth maybe in long haul down the road. But it's going to be a lot of fun over the next 3 weeks. And starting Monday, the data starts streaming. Today, you can kind of get a little bit of insight on our metrics page. You can see what the dashboard's sort of going to look like. But we're really excited and ready to go. And the actual run goes from September 8th through the 25th, and we're ready to go.
We can't wait over here. Runonless.com, NACFE.org. This is their 5th run. They're featuring tractors powered by diesel, natural gas, batteries, hydrogen fuel cells like Penske today. These 4 powertrain solutions represent currently available options for fleets today. And Mike Roeth, who is the head honcho over there, the executive director of NACFE, has joined us this morning. Glad to have you back, and we'll talk to you soon, Mike. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thanks for having me. Have a good week.
You